Oh, Namaste. Welcome you all to the series Yoga for Wellness. Today we are going to look at abdominal breathing. Our first session begins with an introduction to abdominal breathing. What is this abdominal breathing? Why it is so important? What is the technique? And what does the research say about its benefits? This abdominal breathing is also a very natural form of breathing. For example, we observe in small infants how beautifully their abdominal region moves as they inhale and exhale. So, essentially, to understand this technique, an overview about some anatomy. We have three cavities that are important in our breathing: the chest cavity, consisting of heart and lungs; the abdominal cavity, consisting of the digestive system, and of course the kidneys. Then we have the pelvic cavity, consisting of urogenital organs, and also we have other systems like urinary bladder and excretory system. Well, these three cavities play a significant role, and here you see the diaphragm, which is a major muscle of breathing that divides the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity, and way below there is pelvic floor muscle, also referred to as the pelvic cavity. So, in general, the chest cavity, which consists of the lungs, can be considered as a cavity that is filled with the air, and the abdominal cavity, which consists of the abdominal viscera, etc., can be considered as a fluid filled cavity. So, this can change shape very easily with the breathing. So, if you look at closely, the diaphragm, which is the major muscle of breathing, this is a very large membranous kind of muscle, which in its relaxed state is like a dome projected into the chest. And you have a central tendon here, and you see the diaphragm running all the way and attached to the rib cage and ultimately to the lumbar region way below at the level of L2. So this is the muscle which runs from the level of the nipples to the level of the navel. So this is a very important muscle, and the action of this is very uh, crucial. How well you can move your diaphragm. So the technique for the abdominal breathing is as follows. First, watch the diaphragm, how it moves. This is dome shaped. As you inhale, it flattens towards the abdomen, and during exhalation, it moves into the chest. So, this is a simple thing. You can see even in this picture, as you inhale, it moves down, pressing the abdominal viscera, and during exhalation, it moves into the chest. So, what happens is the brain instruct the diaphragm to contract. Contract means it flattens towards the abdomen, as you see now. Then it presses the abdominal viscera and abdominal cavity expands, and then the diaphragm flexes into the chest, pressing the lungs, air comes out, and the abdominal cavity also recedes. So, this is the simple thing that happens during our breathing. But in abdominal breathing, we must go a little further to gain the full range of movement of the diaphragm. So to slowly inhale, as you can see in this picture in the middle, the we can divide the abdominal cavity into three parts: lower, middle, and the upper. And the dotted line shows the kind of changes, of course, little exaggerated to make the appeal, how it should be. So when you inhale now, this solid line is the relaxed state. So when you inhale, the diaphragm flattens, and the bottom of the abdomen the middle of the abdomen, the top of the abdomen should expand in that order fully and all around. That is important. So as we inhale, the bottommost portion of the abdomen, which includes the pelvis, then the middle, then the top of the abdomen should expand all around circumferentially. So all around you should feel the expansion. And then exhalation happens in two phases. One is the passive. When you simply relax, the abdomen, the diaphragm moves to its original position here, the solid line you see here on the right extreme picture. And then you have to contract the abdominal muscles little more than normal so that you can see this dotted line. Diaphragm gains its maximum movement into the chest so that exhalation also becomes longer. So let me repeat. As we inhale, the bottom of the abdomen, middle of the abdomen, top of the abdomen should expand all around. And as we exhale, first simply relax. The abdominal cavity contracts, diaphragm moves into the chest, air comes out. Then towards the end phase of the exhalation, contract the abdominal region little more than normal so that exhalation becomes complete, longer, and the diaphragm can move to its fullest range. And chest should remain reasonably stable. That is very important. As you can see, even in this animated picture, how the whole cavity expands during inhalation and contracts during exhalation. So the diaphragmatic movement is very, very important. So this is very important. For this, you have to really sit upright in any posture. Even in the supine posture, you can do this. But what is important is to observe the movement of the diaphragm, to keep the chest stable while you allow the abdominal cavity to fully, completely expand so that you feel the expansion during inhalation all around, that is front to back and side to side, and similarly exhalation also. Now, what is the use of this? Well, there are a lot of research to support its high value for human health. Very first thing, it is a cardio friendly breathing. Remember, there is something called as heart rate variability. If you say that the heart, for example, beats 60 beats per minute, it is not that every 1 second it beats once. It varies. One beat could be zero point 0.9 seconds, the next beat can be 1.15 seconds. There will be some millisecond variation in breathing. That is called heart rate variability. And research says that this is very, very important for a healthy heart to adapt to various conditions. As you can see here, one beat is 859 milliseconds, the next beat 793 milliseconds, next one 726 milliseconds, HRV is 67 milliseconds. So a heart which simply beats at once in every second, for example, is not all that good. So what is important for a healthy heart is this heart rate variability. It is found that the abdominal breathing actually helps us in getting this heart rate variability because this is a key marker for health, mood, and adaptation. And that's why this HRV improves health, mood, and adaptation to stress, which is very, very important. A key aspect of this heart rate variability breathing involves in identifying a unique resonance frequency. In the sense, we breathe about 15 times per minute. So if we can breathe at 6 cycles per minute, that would greatly help. Not only that, if you can extend the exhalation little more than the inhalation, that has further benefit for the heart. So if this kind of a HRV breathing, you can see the left side, I have put the research paper that talks about this. Um, the simple 6 breaths per minute kind of breathing with longer exhalation. If you can inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for about 6 seconds, that would make a big impact in improving the heart rate variability and also in maintaining a healthy blood pressure. So that's what they have found. Improved HRV implies enhanced positive mood and lower systolic blood pressure. So that's why it is very important. The next one, charge up the circulation. It charges up the circulation. Just briefly, this is what you see is the blood vessel, which is vein, inferior vena cava, which brings the impure blood from lower extremities to the heart, the atrium of the heart for getting oxygenated. So if the circulation has to improve, there are research being done which shows that it helps the health of this inferior vena cava. They call it as the degree of collapse of this inferior vena cava. If the collapse can be greater, then it helps in proper blood supply. So what they have said is that the IEC or people who practice abdominal breathing has greater degree of collapse than those of normal people, suggesting that abdominal breathing exercise can positively affect venous return via IVC. For those who practice abdominal breathing, the collapsibility of the IVC is best during slow respiration with inspiratory pause. That is, you have to inhale slowly, then observe the transition between inhalation and exhalation, then slowly exhale, make the exhalation longer by way of contracting the abdominal muscles. That would greatly help. So, this is a very useful thing for better circulation. Then this abdominal breathing can be a good guard against the GERD. GERD means gastroesophageal reflux disease, which normally called as heartburn or gastric related disorder. In such cases, this is of great use. So the research paper also you can see there, which says that actively training the diaphragm by breathing exercise can improve conditions of GERD. So this is a very, very important thing, especially if you can inhale slowly, exhale a little longer, and if you can breathe at least 6 cycles per minute for about 10 to 15 minutes, that would really be great. And what more, it this kind of breathing is an antidote for anxiety. You can see in the published paper there, they say that the subjects had a feeling of vigor activity with a tendency of reduced anxiety during and or the voluntary abdominal breathing. So if you do this, then you will have that feeling of vigor and also reduced anxiety. So this is something very, very essential for the modern day world. Not just that, it is an immunity booster. People have studied comparing the treadmill versus simple deep abdominal breathing. When we say abdominal breathing, as we inhale, abdominal cavity should expand. As we exhale, it should contract, and exhalation should be little longer than the inhalation. That is it. So they have found that significant differences were observed between the treadmill and abdominal breathing groups in the level of salivary immunoglobulin A secretions in saliva. So this salivary immunoglobulin A is the first line of our body's defense. So this uh, enhances our immunity. So that is the most important thing of this simple but very effective breathing technique. Not just that, it gives a great internal massaging. When you inhale, when the diaphragm moves up and down. It massages not only the abdominal muscles and organs, but it also massages the heart and the lungs in a very, very rhythmic way. And not just that, it also massages, if you look at the posterior surface, the kidneys, and further down, way below, the urinary bladder, etc. So, overall, this gives a very great internal massaging. Not just that, you must observe that the posterior region, the so-called thoracolumbar fascia, the thick skin at your lower back, which is also typically called as the nature's back belt, that also get nicely massaged, and that also responds to deep abdominal breathing. That helps the health of the lower back also. So this is what we should remember. And to top it all, it stimulates the lower three chakras. As you know, we have multiple chakras or energy centers in the body. Seven of them are highly recognized. In that, the lower three, the Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine, the Swadhisthana chakra at the sacrum, just slightly above the tailbone. Then the Manipura chakra behind the navel zone. They all get nicely stimulated, and through that, the endocrine glands there, starting from testes, ovaries in women, and the adrenal glands and pancreas, they all get nicely stimulated. So this is a benefit filled pack, this abdominal breathing. And with all these things, we must remember this is a Sampurna Swastya Sutra, and very simple and safe, and it suits one and all. Therefore, it has to be practiced regularly, um, with highly disciplined way, and you should learn to do it mindfully because this offers multiple benefits and deserves all the attention. So when doing it, do it mindfully. Simplest: as we inhale, abdominal cavity should expand. As we exhale, it should contract. Exhalation should become little longer than the inhalation, and the breathing rate about 6 per minute. If you can reduce it further, it is good, but 6 per minute is a basic thing that would help greatly in helping our health. Namaste.